So first I'm going to start cutting some plywood. This is pine. This is leftover I had from other projects. It's 3/4. I'm going to just rip it down the final width. Then off to the miter saw to cut to final length. This is going to just be a rough to start. This is going to be the bottom, top, and side pieces, and also the center dividers for the shelves. Now I'm just going to mark all my pieces and start to measure out where I want the center divider pieces to go, and just getting all the rough estimates where everything's going, how it's going to be laid out. Like I said, this project will be made with all offcuts from leftover projects. These are pieces really I'm not spending any money on. This is for a personal project for my house, just a little shoe rack and storage. So the wood's not as nice. I'm gonna have to really work to make it look a little nicer than how it comes when you buy it at the store. So the center dividers for the shelving will be inserted in dado cuts here. I'm going to use the table saw for, as you see, I'm measuring out now. So we will have dado cuts, grooves for the center dividers. A little bit of a snug fit, but that's kind of the way I want it. So just tap it in here, get them in, so I don't need much glue. Here I'm just repeating the steps for the top, and also if any of the dados were too snug, I just kind of like bore them out a little bit so they would fit better. A little light sanding before I do a assembly. It's a little easier to sand these pieces before you assemble. So I'm going to use shelf pins for this, and I have my own little homemade jig that I made that works pretty well. And just go take it to the drill press and just use a 3/8 bit and a Forstner bit to drill these holes out. Now we're ready for assembly. So for the assembly, I'm just going to use some glue, 18 gauge brad nails, and also going to use screws also after I line everything up. This is essentially just a carcass build, like a cabinet or TV console. No, it's really no difference. So now I'm gonna start cutting some poplar for the face frame. Just doing final secure of the box with some screws after countersinking. Now that I know everything's square. So back to milling up the face frames. First the miter saws you saw earlier, and now the jointer, and then we'll run through the planer. Now going through for the final width, and these face frames will be about 1 3/4 inches in width. Here, just cutting all the face frame pieces to final length before installing them. For these, I'm going to use pocket holes and screws. Here, just plating up the top and make it flush with the sides. Also going to put some side pieces on for accent, like frame pieces. I'm going to cut miter cuts on all these to join them together. This is also part of the reason why I set the face frame up the way I did, with the side top pieces not as long as the side front pieces, because these will run the whole length of the front of the storage rack, so you kind of can see them. So it kind of looks like one joint piece at the end. So here I'm just going to start cutting some shelf pieces. These are going to be made from 1x pine. So now I'm going to be cutting the pieces for the top, and these will be laminated from Poplar. As you can see, I'm not getting too detailed on these steps, so it's pretty much, they were fairly straight. I just cut them the rough width with the table saw, and then I'm just going to run them through the joint. I did run them through the planer too. I didn't video that because it's kind of the same process as usual. So now I'm just going to mark where I'm going to put the biscuits. We're going to use biscuits to laminate these tops. And also here, for the grain, I try to have the grain switch from one board to the other. The grain going up and going down, up. So in other words, like that whole smiley face frown. You want the grain, not so they kind of offset each other when they laminate and glue up. Now just glue up and clamp with even pressure from the top to the bottom, so everything's kind of level. Now as you see here, we're just finishing the top. We do some sanding, and with 80 grit to 120 grit, and also I wrap the edges with a chamfer on all four sides, top and bottom, and then we do another final sanding before we put finishing on these tops. So for preparing to mount the top, this is going to be tricky for me. So what I'm doing, I'm countersinking some holes in the bottom of the top plywood, and I'm kind of making them big so the screw will have room to maneuver and slide side to side, since I'm not able to use the tabletop fasteners the way this lays on the top. So it's going to be screwed directly in. So now let's put some mineral oil on the top, wipe it in, then we'll put some stain and finish on. So here I'm just wiping some weathered gray stain on this. I'm not going to spray, I'm just going to wipe in with a cloth and wipe off the excess. And now I'm just going to put these little bottom feet on countersink. So for the finish, I'm just going to spray this with lacquer. So lacquer for the shelves and the frame, and I will use Osmo as just later for the top. So right now I'm just going to spray the lacquer on. And for Osmo, I just wipe on with a pad. Use this like a Scotch type pad, and then let it sit, soak into the cream for a little bit, then I wipe off with the trash off any excess. That's how I typically apply the Osmo, which I really like this finish. Okay, so here I'm just going to mount the top. Okay, so top is mounted. Project is done. It's located in the house now. It could be used for a shoe rack, storage rack, even a TV console, really, if you wanted to, and mainly for any mudroom or living room. Thanks for watching.